So let's talk about magic words. As Phil describes them, I'm just going to read it verbatim. Magic words are sets of words that address the subconscious brain. The subconscious brain is a powerful tool in decision making because it is pre-programmed through our conditioning to make decisions without over analyzing them. It works a little like a computer. It only has a yes response or a no response, and it can never be stuck in a maybe. So it is strong and decisive and it moves quickly. We rely on the subconscious brain daily to get us through everything that happens without us even having to process and take care of every decision. Some of those examples of how your subconscious serves you is thinking about when you sleep and you're breathing, right? That's just your body naturally doing what it needs to do to survive. Another one could be whenever you're hearing your name, you immediately respond, right? In some scenarios, if you're seeing light and you're following light, your eyes immediately subconsciously follows anything that draws attention. So these are some examples that where your subconscious brain is automatically making a decision to move. So when you're using words and you talk straight to that part of the brain that is free from the maybes, from that tentative response, you get a fair advantage on really moving conversations in the result that you want and persuade, again, without having to come off either pushy or gimmicky. It's just really more of a effective way for you to communicate exactly what your intentions are. These have been tested over multiple situations, from selling products to inspiring team members, even in everyday life or in leadership, right? And so we're going to share these magic words with you so that you can apply them in your life, in leadership situations, or in critical conversations with your customers. That way you can leverage the methodology to help you move in the right direction. But before we go into the specific magic words, there are some core principles you want to make sure that you follow so that you can master truly exactly what to say. So the first principle is the worst time to think about the thing that you're going to say is in the moment that you're going to say it. And the reason why this is so important is because how many times have you ever been in a conversation where you leave saying to yourself, I should have said that differently. I could have said this instead. What I would have said differently would be X, Y, or Z. Maybe you're showing up thinking that winging it is going to be enough. And what you realize is if you don't do the work before the work, there are a lot of risks and there are a lot of things that you left out to chance. And the goal here is for you to know exactly what to say in the right critical conversations and critical moments so that you can turn those chances in your favor. So to follow this principle really well, you want to focus on 3 specific areas. The first is I challenge you to think about critical conversations that you can think of, specific moments that you can think of where you could plan to know exactly what to say. So again, you can turn those moments into favorable outcomes. Second thing is really think about what are some specific areas where you're going to expect and anticipate objections so you know how to respond to those appropriately and turn those conversations into a favorable outcome. And the third is think forward. Think through a week ahead from now or a month from now, when is your next critical conversation, whether it's in life, if you're a leader, or in business, or with colleagues. That way you can get ahead of it and really take advantage of that moment. The second principle is curiosity is the fuel to great conversations. What happens a lot often is we show up into conversations overly confident, overly certain. And the interesting about that is the more certain that you show up into a conversation with a prospect, a customer, or the other person in this conversation, the more uncertain they are. It's kind of an interesting dynamic, sort of contradictory, whereas if you show up to a conversation being more curious and open, you're creating a safe space so that you can have a conversation where there's no state of judgment, there's no ego, there aren't all this tension, right? Of is it you versus me? Who's going to win this conversation? At the end of the day, it's about building trust. And in order to build trust, coming with a state of mind of curiosity is going to be far more advantageous for you. So a question to challenge you is think about a conversation that you left where if you would have been a lot more curious, would those results have been different? So the third principle that is a cornerstone of conversational excellence is that people do things for their reasons and not yours. And a lot of times, if you have ever felt like you were on the buying side of a conversation, I'm sure that you've had an experience where wherever you are, when someone's trying to push something on you, right? What it does, it actually pulls you away because you're not given space to be able to make the decision. You're feeling forced. You're actually feeling a little bit attacked, and it actually makes you push back. So in this scenario, it's important that you gather evidence and context by asking really, really strong questions. And the first phrase that I'm going to introduce in this video as a sneak peek is, because of the fact that you said A, B, and C, I then recommend X, Y, and Z. So why is that phrase so powerful? Because if you've done the work before in being curious and asking great questions, gathering context and evidence of your customer's needs, then you've allowed yourself to use the phrase because of the fact that you said A, B, and C. And it allows the listener to know that you're paying attention to them, you care about what they care about, and then you now have a good authority and you've earned the right to make that recommendation. So it's a powerful principle to follow. And one concept that I would leave you with asking yourself is, what evidence are you looking to collect before you earn the right to make that recommendation? And the last principle is that the person asking the questions is the one that is in control of the conversation. Too many times, we typically as humans are into solution mode very early, right? So we find a customer, we see a couple of patterns, and we think we know what's best for them already. And we haven't gathered enough context. We haven't stayed curious enough. We haven't built enough trust for us to earn the right to make that recommendation. And so the concept behind asking questions is you want to make sure that you're taking time to get to know your customer and get to know what they care about. Again, and whether it's a team member, a customer, or even a person someone in your personal life, asking enough questions and gathering enough context will allow you to have enough evidence to make recommendations. So as a self-reflection, I would ask you to think about, are you asking enough questions? Are you creating enough conversations? Are you building enough relationships? Are you uncovering more opportunities? And are you identifying the moment when to ask for the business in order to move those relationships forward? That's the science behind the magic words and the foundation behind the framework before we get into the actual magic words. So tune into the next video where we'll start introducing some other concepts.